Hello everyone. Welcome to Coach to Transformation's CCEU webinar. I'm your host Chaitanya. Today we are joined by Leona. Today we are joined by Leona, uh, an ICF MCC Master Certified Coach and the Director of Education at the Executive Talent Potential. With 20 years of experience in the corporate leadership world and 15 plus years as a full-time executive coach, Leona specializes in developing leaders communication and emotional intelligence. She has coached over 1,000 people managers at companies like HSBC Group and CLP Power and trained hundreds of professional coaches in listening and communication skills. We are excited to have her with us today as she shares her insights on the topic Beyond Words, the neuroscience of active listening and its transformative power in coaching. Over to you, Leona.
Hi, thank you for your introduction. It is lovely to meet you all. Uh, to start with, I'd like to really appreciate the opportunity of Coach to Transform to give me this opportunity to learn and grow and share some of my thoughts and um, some of my collection with you today. So I hope that it is short gathering, but yet a fun night for us to learn and get to connect together. So let me share my screen. I have prepared a presentation as I walk along with my sharing with you. Uh, we tested it before this session started. We found that it's a little glitch when it shows up on my screen. So I hope it is not too disturbing, but if you find something showing up of the top end of the screen, it is a technical glitch that at the moment I cannot solve. But anyhow, if you have any needs or any issue, please put in the chat, and my lovely partner tonight, Chaitanya, will capture that and let us know. So let's get it started. So this is a topic I bring to you, everyone. For me, what good coaching is start with listening. Traditionally, coaching impress people because people get their aha moment by being asked some very powerful question, and the mind shift, and all of a sudden, there's new findings. And I always thought that way until one day I learned the art of listens actively. It changed the game. It changed the way how I ask questions. It changed my client experience. So I'm very excited tonight, today, and this afternoon, wherever you're at. I share this with you. And so these are the 4 sessions I prepared to share with you. First is a little bit about the science of being heard, the neuroscience part. I have to declare that I'm not a neuroscientist myself. And so I will keep it to a very practical side of how science supported why coaches do our active listening this way. And then before we jump on to develop more about our core competencies, sub-competencies in listen actively, I would like to first remove some of the obstacle in our way to listen actively, which is some subtle saboteur who stop us from being good listeners. And that will be a lot of fun about that, because I hope that you will have some giggle with me that even though you're a very experienced coach, sometimes we will fall into the traps of our saboteurs that give us in listen actively. Then we'll move on to talk about mastering and how we further develop our core competency in listen actively. And you will have some homework to do if you like, because I've prepared a 30-day challenge for you to further develop your ability to listen actively. No matter whether you're a coach just started your journey to be a professional coach, or you're a coach for many, many years, or even more than me, I hope, this is the experience I like to bring to you today. The next 1 hour or so is not a training. I run professional coaching training, but tonight is not about training, because I expect most of the content I share with you, they're things that you already know. What I manage and what I endeavor to do is to reorganize them so that I can hold a place for you today for your self-reflection. I believe coaches are very honorable professionals with a great heart to create exceptional moments to your clients. So it is more precious that when we group ourselves together, we reflect, we learn, and hopefully we'll become a community so we can learn with each other. So during the next 50 minutes or so, I hope you will have some self-reflective question as we go along the time learning together. Ask yourself questions like, what is the purpose of listens actively? How does this competency serves you? How does listens actively serves others? What is going through your mind in this session? So you need to put on double hat, not just listening to what Leona presenting to you, but also listen to yourself as you're responding or something coming up to you as I share the content to you. Because with a lot of love, my little heart, I like by the end of this session, you can take away some applicable insight and learning. So we all grow and learn and become a better coach. Now, one of the things is what I'm facing the screen now. I only have one vision. I'm not able to see a lot of your chat. So Chaitanya will help me to capture some of your questions. And yet, if something really critical, you think it is important for you to unmute yourself and ask a question, please do. Please do. Because I really want you to have a good experience of spending time with us. Okay, is that okay? So, okay, to go forward, the first thing I know that when we promote this session, we talk about is about neuroscience. Probably a lot of you already know when, as a human being, when we are being listened to, listening could light up our brain. And it happens to you and me and our clients when that happens. I'm not going to walk through all the brain structure and things. I just like to pull out a piece of research by neuroscientists who I cited on the screen when they apply functional magnetic resonance images, fMRI, to people's brain. They test different scenarios and they found that when people are being active listening to, that is when you're the speaker and you discover someone is listening to you attentively and being able to understand what you're talking about, this is how the brain looks like. The reward region in the client's brain will light up. And this lightening up, actually, they are the release of a hormone in human brain, which we all know, because for those who exercise a lot, you must heard about a hormone called the dopamine. The dopamine actually is a neurotransmitter that will transmit different kinds of messages to our brain. And in the case of active listening, this light up area of our brain is actually a pathway to our reward center. And what it means is when the dopamine are being released, when we are being actively listened to, we feel good. The person who is being actively listened to feel good. And with this message transmitted in our reward center, people feel that, oh, I feel so good about being listened to. I want more of that. And how it looks like is like brightening up of different spots of human's brain, just like what we're showing on the screen now. And the end impact of this active listening to human's brain will significantly enhance our clients' memory when they receive our service of listen actively. And at the end of that, because they feel good this experience, so they are engaged and they want more of our service. And hence, being a professional coach and we serve our client, it is something very important for us not only engaging our clients, it's more because it fires up our client's brain and we are bringing some sustainable change and learning to our client. Okay, so how it relates. So let me align some understanding with people in this room. Today, what we are sharing about the neuroscience about active listening, it relates one of the 8 core competency of ICF professional coaching, listens actively. So the official definition of listen actively is focuses on what the client is and is not saying to fully understand what is being communicated in the context of the client's system and to support client self-expression. And to look at it separately, what listens mean is the act of paying attention to understand, to be understood, and to comprehend what's being and not being said, whilst being present in a very attentive way. And actively means the intentional and the cautious effort we exert to be engaged with our clients in a responsive way. When the two get put together, we're actually talking about a focused approach that requires attention, interest, and participation. So this is what we are talking about. Now, the benefit of that, if we practice listen actively to our client, when the client's brain reacts, when the dopamine release and the reward center of our client's brain is being activated, it created 3 impacts in the trust connection. So some of you might quickly just relate, oh yeah, trust connection, because one of the 8 ICF core competency of professional coaching is to build trust and safety, right? Yes, because all the core competency, they do not come along separately and independently. It all comes together as a family. So as we listen actively to our clients, actually there's 3 things that happens to trust connection. The first is when the client's brain bright up, it also bright up the mirror neurons into the client's brain. And when clients feel understood, their mirror neurons fire, creating neurological trust and deeper connection. And if you're interested to find out more about how these mirror neurons work in people-to-people connection, I have a short video for you. Please enjoy.
Why is it that we can sometimes feel another's hunger as if it were our own? How is it that we can catch another's mood, just like catching a cold? Have you ever found yourself tapping your foot to the rhythm of someone else's dance, or wincing in pain when you see someone else cut their finger? What about scratching an itch after watching someone else do it? How do we feel what's happening out there, in here, inside ourselves? How do your actions become mine, and vice versa? The answer, my dear listeners, is mirror neurons. In a fascinating experiment, scientists used incredibly thin electrodes to measure the activity of a single neuron in the premotor cortex of a monkey as it grasped a peanut. To their surprise, when the experimenter later grasped a peanut, the same neuron in the monkey's brain activated simply by watching the action. This was the dawn of understanding vicarious feelings, the mirroring of others' behaviors. It turns out our sense of free will is not as invincible as we thought. Every time we see someone else's movements, they infiltrate our mental fortress. The phenomenon extends to sounds, sensations and emotions, allowing us to feel as if we are walking in another's shoes. These brain circuits blur the boundary between your experiences and mine. Without mirror neurons, learning as we know it would not exist. But it goes beyond that, extending to intuitive altruism. In many parts of the world, people share the wealth, a testament to mirror neurons' influence. However, as with all things, there are exceptions. Sometimes our desire for personal gain might outweigh our empathy. Consider a military general distanced from the suffering caused by their armies or weapons that kill from afar. In these scenarios, empathy can be bypassed for the sake of efficiency. In most other cases, though, it is a matter of treating others as we would like to be treated. Every time we see an action, our mirror neurons mimic it, transforming the sight into the motor commands necessary to replicate the action. A neural gate prevents the immediate output of our motor areas, allowing us to covertly share the actions of those around us. We feel them, and they thus become a part of our extended self. Our brains are ethical by design. It was advantageous for our survival to understand the needs of others. In summary, mirror neurons are the secret behind our ability to empathize with others. They allow us to vicariously experience the world around us, from the simple action of grasping a peanut to the complex emotions of another person. They blur the lines between self and other, creating a shared experience that is fundamental to our humanity.
So that is the miracle of what triggering the mirror neurons can do to us in a coaching conversation. So when listening, build that connection, and the mirror neurons will help to connect the empathy and relativeness of the coach and the client. And it doesn't stop by that.
Why is it?
And other things, when we're doing a human and human connection and building a partnership in professional coaching, is psychological safety. Psychological safety, by definition, it is the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concern, or mistakes. So with that belief being created, when listen actively casts its magic, our connection with our client will be fostered. And active listening creates a safe space where clients can explore their vulnerabilities and take risks when sharing with their coach. The third benefit about that, definitely, when our clients can feel freely sharing with us with the empathy building in between the coach and the client, clients who feel heard develop stronger beneficial alliances and achieve better outcomes in the conversation that is to serve our client. So that's the upfront benefit when we practice listen actively in a coaching conversation with the support of what is the hormonal reaction in our brain, and how the mirror neurons can come into the connection of building empathy in between the coach and the client. And before, I'd like to share some of the tips of how we can become better active listener, I think we need to build some awareness. This awareness, probably we all know, And I have a collection tonight would like to share with you so that we can reflect on some saboteurs that has been stopping us from being great active listeners. So even very experienced coaches face barriers in today's fast-paced digital environment. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to transformation, starting from the coach, and then we can bring it to the client. So as I walk through these 5 subtle saboteurs, I'd like you to probably take a piece of paper, rate yourself amongst these 5 subtle saboteurs, which one you suffer the most, or which one you're aware that jump out to you most when you're interacting with your client. The first one, nowadays, who's got time? We're always under the time pressure, right? We're all rushing and rushing to respond without fully understand the speaker's intention, especially probably in the old days, I would say that, if you work in large corporations, it is always culture that time is very important. So everything need to happen in a very short time. And it seems that that momentum has spun faster and faster nowadays. No matter which sector we are working, it seems we are lack of time. So with that, under the time pressure, and with technology coming in to push us from the back, we have a tendency to feel that we don't have enough time. And a lot of coaches, we have back-to-back coaching calls as well. And in order to demonstrate our efficiency at work, sometimes even the coach will feel that we are under a lot of time pressure. And if we let that come to us, if we feel that we are under time pressure, probably our clients will feel unheard and solutions address the wrong problem entirely. So first thing first, we need to be aware the impact of time pressure to a coach. I don't know about your experience. I just like to share one of my personal experience. I'm quite impatient person myself, so probably I connect to this under time pressure a lot. I think time pressure, on one hand, it is objective, but the other hand is quite subjective. The pressure is created by myself. I learned from a client that I work with because I go to do a shadow coaching in their office, and I see one of these clients' manager do when they're trying to rush through some deadline that they try to make. Even up to the last 5 minutes before they need to send out their final product, there's still some little unfinished business in there. I still recall that leader, that manager in the team yelled out to the team and said, "Stay calm. We still got a lot of time. We still got 5 minutes." I think that story hit a big impact on me. That's not only changing Leona's the way how I keep calm and be more ground to stay till the end of everything. It helps me when during my coaching, even I found that, hey, I only have a few more minutes. Should I rush into doing something or not? I keep calm because when my clients is unfinished, I think it is important that don't let that time pressure come to me. I will have this self-talk and tell myself that, hey, whether the message is completed or not is because of my client, is not because I think I'm running out of time. So with that in mind, I'll be able to keep calm and fully utilize time with my client. And I also will create a space to let my client to fully express themselves instead of running through I have to run towards a time schedule. Because when we're with a client, it is more their show. It is not for us to nasty their time. And the antidote is, if we feel that, we pause and breathe. We implement something called a 3-second rule before responding. So if we feel that, feeling a little bit of time pressure, we hold the space for a client by just breathe quietly and count to 3. And sometimes magic happens, because by just allowing that 3 seconds to ourselves, we can leave time for our client to finish and for them to fully process their message. The second saboteur we might face is we are not fully listening. So, okay, we can say, okay, I can manage my urge in myself. I breathe and I let my client fully express ourselves, but are we fully listening to them? What it looks like is listening just enough to relate to something we already know. Now, in a fast-paced world, that is something that has trained us to do it. We have a tendency just to listen to one piece of the information and then fill up the space of the rest of the message without listening to all. So a self-check for us is whether I'm now listening to understand or am I listening to respond. In a fast-paced working environment, we always listen to respond, and that's why the fraction listening comes up. So my recommendation is, if we put on a mindset, hey, we are really here to manage the time pressure, fully utilize the time. We are here, listen to understand, not just to respond. It can help us to tame a little bit of the fractional listening habit. And the practice is relate back to another core competency of ours, that is to maintain our presence all the time. By full presence technique, we notice when our mind start planning a response. So before we go fully immerse in the response or thinking of what is the next question I should ask, just tell ourselves, hey, hang on, it's unfinished business here. We're here, listen to understand. Let's go back to listen carefully what our clients has to say. So stop the habit of rational listening. Before I move on to the next 3 saboteurs, I have a fun video to share with you. Some of you might have watched it before. If you watch it before, I like to watch it. I like to invite you this second time you watch this video, ask yourself, since the last time you watched this video, what have you changed? And if it is the first time you're going to watch this fun video, I'd like you to reflect on what is true to you when watching this video, and what is the message for you as a professional coach. So let me share this fun video with you.
So I caught up with a friend of mine the other day. I love her. She's smart, she's brilliant, she's talented. And after we grabbed our coffees and we did the usual warm-up chit-chat, Shannon looked at me and she said, Michael, you're a good guy. I need your help. I need your advice. And my monster was delighted. She started telling me what was going on, and I started to pretend to listen. Because quite frankly, my advice monster already knew exactly what I wanted to tell her. But I'm pretty good at the fake active listening. You know, you tip your head on the side, you nod, you look engaged, yet caring, yet concerned. Small, meaningless words of encouragement. Yeah, sure, yeah, right. Oh, you go, girlfriend, and exactly. But honestly, my advice monster's like, could we just hurry this up, please? All right, 'cause time is short. Finally, Shannon finished. So finally, I was able to share my brilliant advice. And make no mistake, it was brilliant. Shannon tipped her head on the side, looked engaged, yet caring, yet concerned, started nodding, made small, meaningless words of encouragement. Yeah, maybe, okay, yeah, nice idea. Honestly, my advice, my help was going nowhere. My advice monster had sabotaged the conversation again. Now, this isn't just a Michael thing, it's not even a mansplaining thing. You, all of you, you know your advice monster. Somebody starts telling you about something, you don't really know the situation, you don't really know the people involved, you certainly don't have the full context, you definitely don't have the technical specifications, and after about 10 seconds, your advice monster's like, oh, I've got something to say here. You know, research tells us that medical doctors' advice monsters tend to interrupt their patients after about 11 seconds. But that's not really a medical thing, it's a human thing. Now, I can see some of you are looking at me and you're thinking to yourself, Michael, it's true. Other people's advice monsters, very annoying, really, really pretty irritating. But my advice is honestly pretty fantastic. And what's wrong with advice anyway? Well, look, there is nothing wrong with advice. Advice is a key part of civilization. I mean, TEDx, it is one large forum for advice. The problem isn't with advice. The problem is when giving advice becomes our default response. And we all have this ingrained way of behaving. For most of us, it's become a habit. It's become an advice-giving habit. Or, for short. And it turns out there are 3 ways that advice giving goes bad. The first 2 are kind of connected. Here's the first challenge with advice giving. You're busy solving the wrong problem. This happens all the time. We get seduced into thinking that the first challenge that shows up is the real challenge. It almost never is. It's people's best guess. It's their first hypothesis. It's a stab in the dark. But it's really rare that the first challenge is the real challenge. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that somehow miraculously you are finding and working on the real challenge. Here's the second issue with advice giving. Your advice is not nearly as good as you think it is. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh, no, Michael, no, my advice is magnificent. Well, I'd encourage you to go watch all those TED videos on cognitive biases that will explain just how bad your advice normally is, particularly if you think you give good advice. But those first 2 are just you kind of wasting people's time and life and resources and money. So, no big deal. The third issue about giving advice cuts a little deeper, and it cuts both ways. If you are on the receiving end of advice, if you're on the receiving end of somebody's advice monster, you're constantly getting the message that you can't figure this out yourself. And that cuts away at your sense of competence and your confidence and your sense of autonomy. And if you're on the other side of the equation, if you have an advice monster, and if I can be clear, you all have an advice monster, well, forget about the fact that you're disempowering people, and forget about the fact that you're a bottleneck to everybody around you. Just that added responsibility of having to have all the answers and to save the person and to save the day, it's exhausting and it's frustrating and it's overwhelming. Now, I can see you looking at me and going, yeah, Michael, point well made, we get this, I get it, I understand, yeah, fair enough. And I know you do get it, it's straightforward, you get this. In theory. In practice, this is still how you're showing up on an everyday basis. So what's going on with that? Well, it's your advice monster. You keep feeding it, and it is insatiable. Somebody starts talking, and your advice monster looms up out of the dark and goes, oh, I'm going to add some value to this conversation. Yes, I am. Here I go. You have to learn to tame your advice monster. And to tame it, you have to understand it. And it turns out your advice monster has 3 different personas. And you listen up, you'll hear the one that resonates most for you.
And I'm not going to show you the rest of the video. You can look it up in the YouTube if you'd like to finish it. But I just like to share with you that the 3 persona, the speaker of this TED Talk, is very similar to what I'm about to share with you. The first one is barrier number 3. The advice monster wants us to correct others. So what we need to, the trigger is we believing that correction benefits everyone. This interrupts the client's thought process and emotional flow. Let me give you an example. I was observing a coaching conversation recently as part of the learning we have in our professional coaching journey. The conversation is about the client would like to change a habit of hers. In the coaching conversation, she really would like to figure out how she can really relax herself, but at the same time go to bed early. And when the coach was listening to that, the advice monster of the coach come up because from the debriefing, the coach shares that at the point of the time, the coach believed what the clients went wrong is the client just trying to trial and error of how to change her habit without having a very specific plan for herself. So with that thought in the coach mind, the coach tried to change the path of what the client is sharing by requesting the client to be more specific of how she would like her change to be. Now, I'm not saying that the coach is not helping. Probably in the case of offering a consultation, conversation, or therapeutic session, that might work. But what coaching is about is to help our client by articulating themselves. They can build some awareness of what is really going on in between what they desire to happen. So by the coach started to get in the course of correcting where the client's trying to express themselves, it created 2 things. One is probably the client was not ready to be very specific of what she would like to have. And secondly, that request of being more specific of the client want might stop some sparks of the client's brain, as we shared earlier, because probably the client might think that, oh, oops, hang on, it seems that I'm not saying the right thing. So in order for us to manage this saboteur of our need to correct others being part of our advice monster, let's practice trust the client's wisdom and timing. Our role is to facilitate their discovery, not to fix their thinking. And the alternative is we be more curious about what the clients want to tell us and to maintain the client's agency and their own exploration. Another side product from our advice monster is we're too eager to share our ideas. So we may lose patience, interrupt due to excitement that partner with the fractional listening, and our passion for helping others become a barrier to client processing. Remember, we always would like to have 80% airtime for our client, and by active listening, we respond in the other 20% airtime. Also, the client experience. If we jump in and too eager to share ideas, the client might feel rushed, unheard, and not valued in the coaching relationship, and their dopamine release might reduce, and probably the mirror neurons will slow down in connecting. So the strategy for us as coaches to manage ourselves is something I will say is an idea parking. Note your insight for appropriate timing rather than interrupting the client's flow. And of course, at the end of the day, in masterful coaching, is our idea matter? Probably not. It is more our client's ideas matter. The last saboteur of our listen actively is overlooking opinions as questions. So sometimes our advice monster will create some ideas for our clients, and it can affect our communication style and affect our clients' psychological safety. For an example, sometimes coaches will come out in a close-ended question asking like, don't you think we should, or don't you think you should? In fact, it comes out seems like a question. It is actually the advice monster jumping out on us. And the recommended response is we offer our observation, which might come out like, it sounds like you have a perspective on this, and then invites further authentic exploration. So with this, the 5 subtle saboteur, of which 3 of them comes out from our advice monster, from the hindsight, which one of these catch you most of it? For me, quite a few of them catch me. So that this awareness is very important. So which barrier resonates most strongly with you? And think about professional coaching as a service. So what my client experience when these barriers, this saboteur come out in our way of listening actively. How often does this show up in your coaching? Now, towards the end of this session, which is very soon, I will share a plan for you. I call it a 30 days challenge for you to work on your listen actively skill. And please be aware of the position of your saboteur so that you can work on that. Now, quickly, if we go to the ICF Core Competency Listens Actively, there are 6 sub-core competencies. Let me call it the behavioral indicators. I'll quickly walk through that. I noted there's a reason just at the beginning of September, there's a release of updated ICF Core Competency. But if you look at the amendment, it does not affect the 6 sub-core competency very well. So let me still go through the 6 indicators and share some tips with everyone in the next 6 minutes. The first one of the sub-core competency is consider the client's context, identity, environment, experiences, values, and belief to enhance understanding of what the client is communicating. So that quickly will form a mind map to the coach mind. So it is important when we listen actively, we do contextual mapping and create a mental model of our client's world by understanding in what environment they are operating, how do they experience the story they bring in. And when we talk about experience, it's about how they experience it emotionally, how do they think about it, and with that, what is their response and their intention by responding. What is important for our client, which goes to their values? How does it show up in their belief system? And with what persona or identity our client is experiencing what they're sharing with us. So if we put a mind map like that when we are capturing the client's story, it will help us to reflect back to our client in a more holistic and contextual way. And the second sub-core competency is reflects or summarize what the client is communicating to ensure clarity and understanding. So with that, when we summarize, it is important that we summarize the client's experience in terms of the emotional reflection and what we really observe. It can be on the top of emotion, the way how the client is thinking about and what they are emphasizing in their sharing. And very importantly is check our understanding on a regular basis. And you will see that some timing I put at the bottom of the slide. I think it is more a reminder for a coach that for us to observe how our client's emotion pattern in our conversation. The third sub-core competency is recognizes and inquiries when there's more to what the client is communicating, that is listening to what is being said. So either on the verbal cues like hesitation, incomplete sentences, energy shift, we also observe the nonverbal signals like body language change, tone variation, facial expression, and we invite our clients to share more by starting with, I sense there might be more when you, or what else is present for you by sharing this observation. The fourth indicator is notices, acknowledges, and explores the client's emotion, energy shift, nonverbal cues, or other behaviors. So with that, it is another way for us to sense our client. And it is important, I like to share with the emotional awareness, acknowledges as we can observe them. And we track our clients' energy tracking. So my recommendation is before each coaching session start, we take some time to pause and connect each other's with our energy. So if we started to do that and make it into a habit, it will make our observation and listening to our client go to the next level, not just by the content level, but also in the person-to-person energy and emotional connection level. And we can start explore and build on the top, and if permission is needed, then we can explore deeper with our client. Number 5 is to integrate the client's words, tone of voice, and body language to determine the full meaning of what the client is communicating. So other than noticing the subtlety of what the client is presenting, it is about alignment. So it's a research, probably it's been there out for a year, that how when people communicate, they communicate 7% by words, 38% by tone of voice, and 55% by body language. It's not just by surface, it is the research. What makes it important is when we pay attention to the all channels, a genuine communication will have all the channels quite aligned. If any 2 or 3 of these 3 channels are not aligned from our observation, it is an opportunity for us to explore more. And number 6, notice patterns across, not just across session, but also during the conversation. The first is tracking recurring behavior and language pattern. It will be something good for us to reflect back. Then we can build on that to identify emotional themes and triggers, as well as use pattern to inform strategic partnership by expressing to the client, I've noticed during our conversation, this kind of pattern is happening. What is behind that? And normally, where that brings onto the table, we allow our client to open up more and allow them to take more autonomy to rebuild their story. Now, let's bring it together. All these 6 sub-core competencies, they do not operate alone. It takes us a lot of practicing. And that's why I'm here now in this last 7 minutes. I'd like to chat you a 30-day listening challenge. I have prepared a 3-page document to document what this challenge is about for you to go back to work on. Chaitanya probably will share in the chat with you in a moment, but if you do not get it in the chat, please get connected with the coordinator of today. I cannot share it with you because it seems I have limitation of sharing it in the chat, but do obtain the document so you can work on this 30 days listening challenge yourself. In this 30 days listening challenge for you to work on to up your listen actively skill, week 1 is about starting from the saboteur, barrier elimination. Focus on removing one subtle saboteur from your practice, track instance, and improve daily. Week 2 is more intensive practice, the ICF core competency, the 6 behavioral indicator to practice intensively in every coaching session, get some feedback, and do peer-to-peer practice. Week 3, apply neuroscience insight consciously. Notice how clients respond when they truly heard. Probably by then you can see their brain fire up based on you removing your internal barrier and your intensive practice. And then when you move on week 4, work on the pattern recognition, which is more the number 6 of the sub-core competency of listen actively. Identify patterns across session, gather client feedback on listening effectively. So with that, my sharing with you is whatever insight you form now and take away, start small, seek feedback, track your progress, and you can chart your own professional development with support of your peers. We'll have some continuous development resources. As I said, I have put together the 30 days challenges in a document which the coordinator of tonight can share with you if you do not get it now. Do some ongoing study and research about the neuroscience, about listen actively. Do involve your peers in your practice as you go through your 30-day challenges. And at the end of the day, client feedback is very useful. So the ripple effect of listen actively is start from our individual transformation, enhance relationship with our client, bring to, through challenges to ourselves, bring to professional excellence, and hopefully by growing and learn together, we create some impact to our industry. So that will be some common challenges which we may run out of time, but I quickly go through. When we do virtual coaching, we have limited nonverbal cues in digital environment. So always request for the video on, focus intensely on tone and micro expression, ask more clarifying questions. When our clients are a kind of resistant client to open up, they're guarded and reluctant, start small, build safety slowly, acknowledge resistance without judgment. I think that opening up of noticing resistance works, and let silence works. And it is also very important for us to be aware of cultural consideration. Sometimes we might expect the conversation happen a certain way, but because of cultural differences, we will have different communication norms across cultures. So accept that may happen, learn cultural context, ask about preferences, adapt your listening style accordingly. So again, for us to keep progressing in our path to be active listener, measure our progress by checking our client satisfaction, checking our session effectiveness, and keep building our self-awareness. So with this, again, I invite you to participate in the 30-day challenge. Get a few fellow coaches to do it together with you. Get feedback. Start everything from your next practical session and share your insight in LinkedIn and all the Coach to Transform forums. So I would like to invite everyone to transform your coaching through the power of listening. Yes, I think the time is almost up.
Yes, Leona. Thank you so much for this insightful webinar. The chat, it seems like everyone loves it. They loved it. So it was a really wonderful session. So also everyone, I've shared the document as a Google Drive link in the chat box. I'll be sharing it with you again. I think it's lost somewhere. And I've also shared the CCU certificate link as well. So please do fill the certificate, the form to get your certificate as well. Thank you, Leona. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Also, if anyone wants to view our recorded session or something like that, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channels. We do upload a lot of our CCU webinars over there. So it is of some value as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Leona. This was very helpful.
My pleasure. Thank you for spending time to reflect and learn with me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vandana. Thank you, Niyati.
Thank you, Chaitanya, of your support.
Thank
Can't
you,
do it with
Leona.
you without you.
That's okay. It was really wonderful having you with us here at Coach to Transformations webinars as well. So yeah, thank you
Love
so
learning with
much for
this gang.
this thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think they get what you share in the Google